Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his face and looked at the wall that should not be there. He had been working construction for 15 years, and he had never seen anything like this. The blueprints showed empty space where the wall stood. The wall was made of dark stone that looked nothing like the rest of the building. The warehouse was old, built in the 1920s. Jake and his crew had been working on tearing it down for 3 weeks. Every day brought new surprises. Old pipes that were not on any map, electrical wires that went nowhere, rooms that were not supposed to exist. But this wall was different. This wall made no sense at all. Jake's partner, Carlos Rivera, stood next to him, holding the blueprints. Carlos had been doing this job for 20 years. He knew buildings better than most architects, but even Carlos looked confused. "This is impossible," Carlos said. He pointed to the blueprints. "Look here. There should be a support beam right where this wall is. But instead we have this stone wall that is not on any plan." Jake picked up his sledgehammer and hit the wall. The hammer bounced off like he was hitting solid metal. The impact sent pain up his arms and made his teeth hurt. He tried again, putting all his strength into the swing. The hammer bounced off again, and this time the sound was wrong. It was not the sound of metal hitting stone. It was more like hitting something that was alive. "What kind of stone is this?" Jake asked. Carlos ran his hand along the wall. The stone was smooth and cold. It had strange patterns carved into it that looked like writing, but not any writing they had ever seen. The patterns seemed to move when you looked at them directly, but stayed still when you looked away. "I have never seen anything like this," Carlos said. "Maybe we should call the boss." Jake shook his head. "The boss wants this building down by tomorrow. We cannot stop now because of one weird wall." Jake went to get the pneumatic drill. The drill was heavy and loud, but it could cut through almost anything. He had used it to break through concrete walls that were 3 feet thick. This stone wall could not be more than 2 feet thick. He started the drill and pressed it against the wall. The drill bit into the stone with a sound like tearing metal. But instead of concrete dust, sparks flew from the wall. The sparks were not normal sparks. They were blue and white and seemed to glow with their own light. "Jake, stop!" Carlos shouted over the noise of the drill. "This is not normal." But Jake could not stop. Something was pulling him forward. The drill seemed to move on its own, following the strange patterns carved into the stone. The sparks grew brighter and the sound grew louder. The wall began to crack. But the cracks did not look like normal cracks in stone. They glowed with soft light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The light was warm and peaceful, not like the harsh blue sparks from the drill. "Jake, you need to stop right now." Carlos grabbed Jake's arm. Jake turned off the drill and stepped back. The wall was covered in glowing cracks that spread like a spider web. The light was getting brighter. The sound was getting softer. And then Jake heard something that made his blood freeze. A voice. A human voice, but weak and tired. The voice came from inside the wall. "Please," the voice whispered. "Please help me." Jake and Carlos looked at each other. They had been working construction for years. They had found old bottles and coins and newspapers in walls. They had found dead animals and forgotten tools, but they had never found a person. "Did you hear that?" Jake asked. Carlos nodded. His face was pale. "We need to call the police." But before Carlos could reach for his phone, the wall began to crumble. The pieces fell away like leaves, revealing not the inside of the building, but a room that glowed with soft light. The room was small and round, with walls covered in crystals that pulsed with their own light. In the center of the room stood a woman. She was tall and thin, with long dark hair that seemed to move in a wind that Jake could not feel. Her skin was pale, but it had a soft glow like the crystals on the walls. She wore clothes that looked like they were made from liquid starlight. When she looked at Jake, her eyes were deep and old, like she had seen centuries pass by. "You saved." She said. Her voice was clear now, but it carried an accent that Jake could not place. "I have been waiting for someone like you." Jake could not speak. He could only stare at the woman who had been trapped inside a wall. Carlos was already reaching for his phone, but his hands were shaking so much he could not dial. "Who are you?" Jake finally managed to ask. The woman smiled. When she smiled, the light in the room grew brighter. "My name is Luna," she said. "I have been trapped in this prison for 500 years. 500 years?" Carlos dropped his phone. "That is impossible." Luna stepped out of the glowing room. Where her feet touched the ground, small flowers of light bloomed and faded. "I know this is difficult to understand," she said, "but I am not from your world." Jake felt his knees go weak. He sat down on a pile of broken concrete. "You mean you are from another country?" Luna shook her head. "I'm from another planet, another galaxy. I came to your world long ago, but I was trapped by people who feared what I represented." The room behind Luna was filled with strange objects that Jake could not understand. There were crystals that sang with soft music. There were metal devices that moved without electricity. There were books written in the same strange language as the patterns on the wall. "This is not real," Carlos said. "This cannot be real." Luna looked at Carlos with kind eyes. "I understand your fear," she said. "Your people have been alone for so long. You have forgotten that you are not the only intelligent life in the universe." Jake stood up slowly. Every instinct told him to run, to call the police, to pretend this had never happened. But another part of him, a part he had never known existed, told him to stay. This was important. This was bigger than anything he had ever been part of. "Why? Were you trapped?" Jake asked. Luna's expression grew sad. "I was part of a mission to make contact with your people. We came in peace, offering friendship and knowledge. But the humans who found us believed we were demons or invaders. They used their primitive magic combined with our own technology to create this prison." She gestured to the wall that was now crumbling completely. "They thought they were protecting their world. They could not understand that we came to help." Jake looked at the strange room, at the woman who claimed to be from another world, at the crystals that pulsed with their own light. Everything he had believed about the world was changing. Everything he thought he knew was wrong. "What happens now?" he asked. Luna looked at him with those ancient eyes. "Now, Jake Martinez, you and your people must prepare. The signal that has kept me trapped has been broadcasting your location to others for 500 years, and not all of them come in peace." In the distance, Jake could hear sirens. Someone had called the police. Soon, this place would be filled with people who would want to study Luna, to question her, to decide what to do with her. But Jake had the feeling that Luna was not the one who needed help. It was humanity that was in trouble. And somehow, by accident, by just doing his job, Jake had become the first person to learn the truth. The world was about to change forever. The police sirens were getting closer. Jake could hear the sound of cars stopping outside the warehouse. Soon there would be officers asking questions that Jake could not answer. "How do you explain finding a woman from another planet inside a wall?" Luna seemed to hear his thoughts. "They will not understand," she said. "Your people are not ready for this knowledge." Carlos was pacing back and forth, his phone in his hand. "We have to tell them something," he said. "We cannot just pretend." This did not happen. Jake looked at Luna. She was standing in the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by the glowing crystals from her prison. The light made her look like something from a dream. But she was real. Jake was sure of that. "What do you want us to do?" Jake asked. Luna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them again, the glow in her skin had faded. Her hair stopped moving in the invisible wind. Her clothes looked more like normal fabric instead of liquid starlight. "I can hide what I am for a short time," she said. "But not for long. Your people will learn the truth soon enough." The warehouse door burst open. 3 police officers ran in, their guns drawn. Behind them came 2 paramedics carrying medical equipment. "Chicago police!" The first officer shouted. "We got a call about people trapped in a building collapse." Jake stepped forward with his hands raised. "No collapse," he said. "Just a wall that came down during demolition. No one is hurt." The officer looked around the warehouse. His eyes stopped. On Luna. Who is she? I am Luna, she said before Jake could answer. I was trapped behind that wall. These men saved me. The officer lowered his gun but kept it ready. Trapped behind a wall? How long were you trapped? Luna looked at Jake. He could see her thinking about what to say. A very long time, she said finally. One of the paramedics, a young woman with kind eyes, approached Luna. Are you hurt? Do you need medical attention? I am fine, Luna said. Just tired. The paramedic reached for Luna's wrist to check her pulse. The moment their skin touched, the paramedic jerked her hand back. You are so cold, she said. And your pulse is very slow. Jake watched the paramedic's face change. She had felt something wrong, something that did not make sense, but she did not know what it was. We need to take you to the hospital, the paramedic said, just to make sure you are okay. That is not necessary, Luna said. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the worry in it. The police officer was taking pictures of the collapsed wall with his phone. This is strange, he said. The wall looks like it exploded from the inside. What kind of demolition work were you doing? Carlos showed him the blueprints. We were just following the plans, he said, but this wall was not supposed to be here. The officer studied the blueprints. So you found a wall that was not on any plan, and when you tried to demolish it, you found a woman trapped inside. That is right, Jake said. The officer looked at them all like they were crazy. How long do you think she was trapped? Jake looked at Luna. She gave him a small nod. She says 500 years, Jake said. The warehouse went quiet. The officers looked at each other. The paramedics looked at Luna with new eyes. Carlos dropped. The blueprints? 500 years, the officer said. That is impossible. I know how it sounds, Jake said. But look at this place. Look at these crystals. Have you ever seen anything like this? The officer walked over to examine the glowing room where Luna had been trapped. The crystals were still pulsing with soft light. The metal devices were still moving on their own. The books were still written in the strange language. What is all this stuff? The officer asked. I do not know, Jake said. But it does not look like anything from around here. The paramedic was still staring at Luna. Your body temperature is very low, she said, and your breathing is different. I think we really need to get you to a hospital. Luna shook her head. Hospitals cannot help me. I am not sick. I am just different. Different how? The officer asked. Luna looked at Jake again. He could see that she was trying to decide how much to tell them. I am not from here, she said finally. You mean you are not from Chicago? The paramedic asked. I am not from this world, Luna said. The warehouse went quiet again. Jake could hear the sounds of the city outside, cars driving by. People walking, the normal sounds of normal life. But nothing inside the warehouse was normal anymore. The officer put his hand on his radio. I think we need to call this in, he said. This is bigger than we can handle? Wait, Jake said. Before you call anyone, you need to understand something. Luna is not the only one out there. She told me that there are others coming, and they might not be friendly. The officer stopped reaching for his radio. What do you mean? Luna stepped forward. My people came to your world 500 years ago. We wanted to make friends with humans. We wanted to share our knowledge and learn from you. But the humans who found us were afraid. They thought we were demons or monsters. She pointed to the remains of the wall. They trapped me here using a combination of their magic and our technology. But the trap did something they did not expect. It sent out a signal across the galaxy. A signal that has been broadcasting the location of your world for 500 years. The paramedic sat down on a piece of broken concrete. You are saying that you are an alien? I am saying that I am from another world, yes, Luna said. And I am saying that the signal has been calling to others. Some of them are like my people. They want to help and learn. But others are not so kind. The officer was writing in his notebook, but his hand was shaking. What kind of others? There is a race called the Devourers, Luna said. They are machines that eat planets. They consume everything living and turn it into more machines. The signal has been calling to them. For 500 years they are coming. Jake felt sick. How long do we have? Not long, Luna said. Maybe 6 months, maybe less, Carlos finally spoke up. Why should we believe any of this? Luna walked over to one of the glowing crystals. She touched it with her finger, and the crystal began to sing. The song was beautiful and sad like nothing Jake had ever heard. As the crystal sang, images appeared in the air above it. The images showed space. Stars and planets and ships that looked like they were made of light. Then the images changed. They showed dark ships that looked like metal insects. The ships were consuming a planet, turning green forests into gray metal. This is what the Devourers do, Luna said. This is what they will do to your world if we cannot stop them. The officer had stopped writing. He was staring at the images with his mouth open. How do we stop them? We work together, Luna said. My people have been fighting the Devourers for thousands of years. We have learned to survive, to hide, to run. But we have never learned to win. She looked at Jake. But humans are different. You do not run from fights. You do not hide from danger. You find ways to win against impossible odds. Jake thought about all the wars humans had fought. All the times they had been outnumbered or outgunned but had found ways to survive. Maybe Luna was right. Maybe humans were different. What do you need from us? Jake asked. Luna smiled. I need you to help me contact my people. I need you to help me warn your leaders. And I need you to help me teach your people how to fight. Back, the officer closed his notebook. I am definitely calling this in, he said. This is way above my pay grade. As he reached for his radio, Jake realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a construction worker. He was now part of something bigger than he had ever imagined. The war for Earth was about to begin. 3 days later, Jake stood in a room he never thought he would see. The United Nations building in New York was filled with people from every country in the world. Presidents and prime ministers sat next to generals and scientists. Everyone was looking at Luna as she stood at the front of the room. Jake sat in the front row, wearing a suit that Dr. Foster had bought for him. He felt uncomfortable in the fancy clothes, but Luna had asked him to be there. She said the connection between them was important for what she had to tell the world leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, Luna began, I know this is difficult to accept. 3 days ago, most of you did not believe that life existed on other worlds. Now you must prepare for a war against enemies you have never seen. The President of the United States raised her hand. Luna, you said your people have been fighting these Devourers for thousands of years. Why have you never won? Luna touched one of the crystals that Jake had helped her arrange. The crystal projected images into the air above the room. The images showed beautiful worlds with cities made of light. Then the images changed to show the same worlds covered in gray metal. The Devourers are not like other enemies, Luna said. They do not want your land or your resources. They want to turn everything living into machines like themselves. They have consumed hundreds of worlds. They have destroyed civilizations that were millions of years old. A general from Russia stood up. What makes them so dangerous? Do they have better weapons than us? They do not need weapons, Luna said. They are weapons. Each Devourer ship can rebuild itself using any material it finds. They can learn from every battle. They can adapt to any strategy. Most species can only slow them down. The Prime Minister of Canada looked worried. You said most species? Are there exceptions? Luna looked at Jake. He could feel her emotions through their connection. She was nervous about what she was going to say next. There is one species that has fought the Devourers and won, Luna said. But it happened so long ago that most people think it is just a legend. What species? Asked the President of France. Humans, Luna said. The room went silent. Jake could hear people breathing. He could hear the air conditioning humming. But no one spoke. Finally, the President of the United States broke the silence. That is impossible. Humans have never fought aliens before. Luna shook her head. You have, but you have forgotten. 12,000 years ago, your ancestors fought a war against the Devourers. Your people called it many things. The Great Flood, the end of the Golden Age, the fall of Atlantis. But it was really a war. The Secretary General of the United Nations leaned forward. You are saying that ancient myths are based on real events? I am saying that humans almost lost everything 12,000 years ago, Luna said. The Devourers came to consume your world. Your ancestors fought back with weapons and strategies that no one had ever tried before. They won, but the cost was terrible. Most of human civilization was destroyed. Dr. Foster, who was sitting behind Jake, raised her hand. What kind of weapons did they use? I do not know, Luna said. The records were lost. But whatever they did, it worked so well that the Devourers have been afraid of humans ever since. The general of the Chinese army stood up. If we won before, why are the Devourers coming back now? Luna's expression grew dark. Because they think you are ready to become a threat again. Human technology has advanced rapidly in the past 100 years. You have nuclear weapons, you have computers, you have begun to explore space. The Devourers think you might remember how to fight them. Jake felt a strange sensation through his connection with Luna. She was not telling them everything. There was something else, something that scared her even more than the Devourers. The president of Brazil asked the question Jake was thinking. What are you not telling us? Luna hesitated. The signal that has been broadcasting from my prison has not just been calling the Devourers. It has been awakening something in humans. Something that has been sleeping since the last war. What kind of something? Dr. Foster asked. Luna touched another crystal. New images appeared in the air. These images showed humans, but they looked different. They moved faster than normal people. They seemed to know things without being told. They worked together like they shared the same mind. During the last war, some humans developed new abilities, Luna said. They could sense things that others could not. They could work together in ways that seemed impossible. They could understand alien technology just by touching it. Jake felt his heart racing. The way Luna described these ancient humans sounded exactly like what he had been experiencing since he freed her. These abilities helped humans win the war, Luna continued. But after the war, the abilities faded. Humans went back to being normal. But the potential was still there, waiting. The President of the United States looked at Jake. And you think Jake has these abilities? I think many humans have them, Luna said. The signal has been activating dormant parts of the human brain. For 500 years. Jake is just one of many who are ready. A scientist from Germany raised his hand. How many humans are we talking about? Luna closed her eyes and concentrated. Jake could feel her reaching out with her mind, searching for something. Approximately 1 in 10,000 humans now carries the active genetic markers. That means there are about 800,000 people on Earth who have the potential. The room erupted in discussion. World leaders were talking to their advisors. Generals were making phone calls. Scientists were taking notes as fast as they could write. The Secretary General called for quiet. Luna, what do these enhanced humans need to do to prepare for the war? They need to be found and trained, Luna said. They need to learn how to use their abilities. And they need to be taught how to work with Luminari technology. Luminari? Asked the President of Japan. My people, Luna explained. We have been trying to reach Earth for 500 years. Now that I am free, I can contact them. They will come to help, but it will take time. Dr. Foster stood up. How much time do we have? Luna looked at Jake. Through their connection, he could feel her fear. The Devourers will arrive in 4 months. My people will not be here for at least 6 months. So we have to fight alone for 2 months? The Russian general asked. Yes, Luna said. But you will not be fighting the same way other species have fought. You will be fighting as humans, and humans do not lose wars. Jake felt something change in the room. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now, determination, anger, the same feeling he had seen in construction workers when they faced an impossible deadline. The same feeling he had seen in firefighters running into burning buildings The President of the United States stood up. "What do you need from us?" Luna smiled for the first time since the meeting began. "I need you to do what humans do best. I need you to find a way to win against impossible odds." Over the next few hours, the world leaders made plans that would have seemed crazy a week ago. They would search for humans with the special abilities. They would build new weapons using Luna's knowledge. They would prepare for a war that most people still did not believe was coming. Jake listened to it all, but his mind was on something else. Through his connection with Luna, he could feel something building. The enhanced humans around the world were starting to sense each other. They were beginning to wake up. And deep in space, something else was stirring. The Devourers had felt the signal stop. They knew Luna was free. And they were coming faster than anyone expected. The war for Earth was about to begin, and Jake Martinez, a construction worker from Chicago, was going to be right in the middle of it. Jake stood on the bridge of the space station that had been built in just 3 months. Through the windows he could see Earth below, blue and beautiful. Around the planet, hundreds of ships waited. Some were built by humans using Luna's technology. Others were old military ships that had been upgraded with new weapons. It had been 4 months since Jake found Luna in the wall. 4 months of the most incredible changes in human history. Scientists had worked day and night to understand Luminary technology. Military leaders had trained enhanced humans from around the world. Engineers had built weapons that no one thought were possible. Luna stood beside Jake, watching the screens that showed the edge of the solar system. Her people had finally arrived 2 weeks ago, but there were not many of them. Only 50 Luminary ships compared to the thousands of human vessels. "They are coming," Luna said quietly. Jake could feel it too, through the connection they shared. Something dark and cold was approaching from deep space. The Devourers had arrived. "How many?" Jake asked. Luna closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. "More than we expected." "At least 5,000 ships?" Admiral Kelly, the woman in charge of Earth's defense, looked up from her command console. 5,000? Our scouts said there would be maybe 1,000. "The Devourers called for reinforcements," Luna explained. "They are taking no chances with humanity this time." Jake watched the screens as the first Devourer ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They looked like giant insects made of black metal. Each ship was the size of a city, covered in weapons and machines that could rebuild themselves. "All ships, this is Admiral Kelly." The Admiral's voice echoed through the communication system. "The enemy has arrived. Remember your training. Remember what we are fighting for. Today we show the galaxy what humans can do." The battle began when the Devourers reached Mars. The red planet had been turned into a giant weapon platform, covered in cannons and missile launchers. The weapons opened fire as soon as the enemy ships came in range. The Devourers fired back with beams of energy that could cut through solid rock. But the humans had learned from Luna's knowledge of previous battles. Instead of trying to build stronger shields, they had built ships that could move faster than any ship in the galaxy. Jake watched human fighters dance between the massive Devourer ships like angry wasps. The pilots were all enhanced humans who could think and react faster than normal people. They could sense where the enemy would fire before the weapons were aimed. "The moon base is firing," someone announced. The moon had been hollowed out and filled with one enormous weapon. When it fired, a beam of pure energy shot across space and hit one of the largest Devourer ships. The ship exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth, but for every Devourer ship that was destroyed, 2 more took its place. The enemy was learning from each battle, adapting their tactics with each exchange. "They are getting through our outer defenses," Admiral Kelly reported. "Some of the Devourer ships are heading for Earth." Luna touched Jake's hand. "It is time," she said. Jake nodded. This was the moment they had been preparing for. Luna had discovered that the connection between enhanced humans could be used to coordinate an attack that no machine intelligence could predict. "All enhanced humans, this is Jake Martinez," he spoke into his communicator. "You know what to do. Trust the connection? Trust each other? Around the solar system, 800,000 enhanced humans focused their minds on a single goal. They were pilots and gunners and engineers and scientists. They were connected by something the Devourers could not understand or copy. The effect was immediate. Human ships that had been fighting separately began moving like parts of a single organism. They attacked in patterns that seemed random but were perfectly coordinated. They shared information instantly without using any technology the Devourers could detect what is happening. Admiral Kelly asked as she watched the tactical display. Humans are remembering how to fight, Luna said. One group of Devourer ships tried to surround a squadron of human fighters. But the human pilots knew where. The enemy would be before the Devourers had even started moving. The fighters scattered and regrouped in a formation that let them destroy 3 Devourer ships without losing a single human vessel. Another group of Devourers tried to break through Earth's atmosphere to begin consuming the planet, but enhanced. Humans on the ground were working with the space-based weapons to create a defense that adapted faster than the enemy could change their attack. Jake felt the connection growing stronger. Not just with Luna, but with every enhanced human in the battle. He could sense the pilot flying near Jupiter who was about to make a perfect shot. He could feel the engineer on Mars who had just figured out how to boost their weapons' power. He could share the knowledge of the scientist on Earth who had discovered a weakness in Devourer armor. The enemy is retreating, someone shouted. Jake looked at the tactical display. The Devourer ships were pulling back, but they were not running away. They were regrouping for a final attack. They are bringing up their planet killers, Luna said, her voice filled with fear, on the screen. Jake could see 3 enormous ships approaching from the back of the Devourer fleet. Each ship was 10 times larger than the others, designed to crack planets open and consume everything inside. Can we stop them? Admiral Kelly asked. Luna shook her head. No single weapon can destroy a planet killer. They are too well protected. But Jake was feeling something through the connection with the other enhanced humans. An idea was forming, passed from mind to mind across the solar system. It was crazy and dangerous and had never been tried before. What if we do not try to destroy them? Jake said, what if we turn them against each other? Luna looked at him with surprise. What do you mean? The Devourers are machines, Jake explained. They follow programming. What if we could make them? Think that other Devourer ships were enemies? That is impossible, Admiral Kelly said. We do not understand their technology well enough. But I do, said a voice from the communication system. It was Dr. Sarah Kim, one of the enhanced humans, who had been studying Devourer technology for months. I can see the pattern in their communications. If we can get close enough to one of their command ships, we can inject a virus into their network. Get close enough? Admiral Kelly repeated. Those ships are surrounded by thousands of defenders. Not if we all work together, Jake said. What happened next would be remembered as the most incredible military maneuver in human history. Every human ship in the solar system began moving toward the 3 planet killers, but they were not attacking. They were creating a distraction. Enhanced humans used their connection to coordinate a battle that looked like chaos but was actually perfectly planned. They made the Devourers focus on threats that were not real while Dr. Kim's small ship slipped. Through the enemy defenses, Jake felt the moment when Dr. Kim reached the command ship. Through the connection, he could sense her fingers flying over her controls as she uploaded the virus into the Devourer network. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then one of the planet killers turned its weapons on another planet killer. The second ship fired back. Within minutes, all 3 planet killers were destroying each other while the rest of the Devourer fleet watched in confusion. The virus spread through the enemy network like wildfire. Devourer ships began attacking each other. Their perfect coordination collapsed into chaos. The fleet that had come to consume Earth was tearing itself apart. They are retreating, Admiral Kelly announced as the surviving Devourer ships fled toward deep space. We won. Jake felt a wave of emotion from every enhanced human in the solar system. Joy, relief, and something else, pride. They had not just survived, They had won in a way that would be remembered across the galaxy. Luna smiled at Jake with tears in her eyes. Now the Devourers will tell other machine races what happened here. They will spread the word that humanity cannot be conquered. As Jake watched the last Devourer ship disappear into space, he realized that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They were no longer the weak species that needed protection. They were the species that other civilizations would call when the machines came for them. The war for Earth was over. The age of human expansion had begun.